Spellbinders has been very busy this month. There are a ton of new collections and new releases. So I didn't want to show you everything I have for August in one video. I'm gonna break it up into about 3 videos. Today's video is featuring the new collection from Yana Smakula for Spellbinders, which is called Yana's Poppies. As the name suggests, it's a gorgeous floral collection, and I have a few different types of products from it. So let's look at what I have to work with today. First up, I have the Poppy background press plate. Now this colors in the background and then the details of the flowers. It's a little larger than A2, so you can cover an entire A2 panel. Next, I have the stencils. This is a very easy layering stencil set. I'll show you how easy it is to color in that poppy background. And then I have the Yana's Poppy etched dies. There's a shadow and then there's an outline of those poppies. Let's start with the press plate and make some backgrounds. Since I want to cover an entire A2 background, I am placing a little bit of tape behind the cotton press cardstock and placing it on the clear plate that I have with my BetterPress. Next, I'll place the press plate onto the magnetic plate and I'll cover up that A2 rectangle that is the guide mark on the magnetic plate. I'm using some Catherine Pooler ink today. Now, the thing I like about this ink, especially for press plates, is the consistency seems to be very smooth on the press plate. It really doesn't bead up at all. What you need to do is just tap gently, because the foam pad, if you press too hard on the ink pad, it will squeeze out a bunch of ink on your press plate, and you don't want that. So I am going over this again and again and again until I make sure there's no silver showing through that's not supposed to. Don't worry about all the ink, because these Catherine Pooler inks are reactive with water, so they will clean off the magnetic background pretty easily. I'll put that cotton press cardstock down on top, and then once I run it through my die cut machine, this is the outcome. Can you believe this? I cannot believe, first of all, the detail of the flowers, but also just how gorgeous that dark blue background from the Dress Blues ink looks on that background. So next I decided to try a really light color to see how that would turn out. So this is Catherine Pooler's Cotton Candy ink. And I did the same exact thing, and then I ran it through my die cut machine. And when it comes out, I'm also a big fan of this. So you could just use these as is. You don't have to stencil them in and color them, but they do look gorgeous with the stencil as well. Don't forget, you can also use press plates in your Spellbinders Glimmer machine. So I have a piece of white cardstock with a bit of foil taped down to the back and placed onto the press plate, and I'll run that through my die cut machine once it's nice and warmed up. Then you can just peel off that foil and it looks absolutely gorgeous. Now let's take those backgrounds and turn them into cards. First, I'll use that foiled background. I have my waffle flower grip mat. This size is about 5.5 by 8.5, and I'll place the foiled cardstock down on the grip mat. That will hold the cardstock in place. Then I'll place the first stencil from the layering stencil set on top and make sure the top and the sides is really pressed into the grip mat so it will hold the stencil in place as well. I'm using Distress Oxide inks today and some shader brushes from Waffle Flower. So I am starting with the tips of the petals and then coloring in down towards the centers to make a gradient of color for each of these petals. I will blend them out a bit so that there's no harsh lines, and then check out how gorgeous that first set of petals looks. So with these stencils, each one can be used with a different color of ink, which makes it really nice to create a multicolor looking poppy. I'm using all oranges today. You can use any colors that you like. Poppies come in a whole bunch of colors. I just saw a bunch recently growing wild when I was dropping off my daughter at college, and they're just so beautiful that they just sort of pop up in places. So I am using some mowed lawn for the leaves this time, But what I decided to do is make them a little fall looking, and I have just a touch of carved pumpkin on the edges of those leaves. The last stencil here, no, the second to last stencil is the stems. I decided to use Vintage Photo for those. And then the last stencil on this set is the flower centers, and I decided to use Festive Berries for that. Again, any color combination is going to make them look absolutely gorgeous. If you get some ink on the foil parts, just take a little bit of paper towel or some dry cloth and just brush it away. It will completely come off that foil because the foil resists the ink. And then if you have a couple of white spots, you can just go in with some color and fill those in to make sure that there's nothing that's not being colored in that should be. I love the look of how bright that foil is, how shiny it is, and then those beautiful colored in poppies. So I'm cutting this panel down to 4 by 5 1/4, and that will allow me to mat it on some cardstock. I like the look of a mat around something like this because it finishes the edge and kind of keeps your eye in the center of the card. The last thing I'll do here for this card is just add a sentiment. This is the Make Me Smile sentiment set. It's a Glimmer foil set, and this sentiment says you're pretty amazing. So this is just all you need on this card. Look at how much interest there already is. For the blue background, I'm using the stencil set again. I thought about leaving this one just white and blue, and I might make another one that is that way, but I wanted to see the contrast between orange and that dark blue, and I think it will really pop. So I'm using slightly darker orange colors this time. I started with Wild Honey, moved on to Carved Pumpkin. So this time I'll add in some of the darker colors of orange, and I think they look just as gorgeous as well. As I said, poppies come in a lot of colors and hues. So I'm moving on to Riped Persimmon here. That's definitely a deeper orange, and I really love the way it looks, especially on that dark blue background. For the leaves, I'm actually using another orange. It's Crackling Campfire. And then for those stems, I'll use Mowed Lawn this time. So a little bit of green still in there. It pops, and it really helps those flowers stand out because they are that bright, bright orange. This time for the flower centers, I'm using Lumberjack Plaid, which is a little bit of a deeper red than the Festive Berries, so I thought it would go well with the deeper oranges that I used. Can you believe that? How easy is it to color those flowers in with the stencils? And the background is stunning. This is something that I've seen people create with Copic markers, and I was never able to do it. And now I am because of stencils and press plates. For this card, I did want to show at least one card where I didn't color in the flowers with the stencils. So this is the one with the cotton candy color background. And I'll use the dies. I've cut out the shadow out of a piece of pink cardstock that seemed to match pretty well with the ink. And then I cut the outline out of gold foil cardstock from Spellbinders. There's a pack of cardstock that is called Treasured Cardstocks. It's got foil cardstock, glitter cardstock, brushed foil, so many different things, and gold is obviously my favorite. I love it with pink especially. Last but not least for this, I will add another foiled sentiment. This time it's foiled in kind of a dark pink. I thought that went really well with this card as well. It says Touched Beyond Words, and these sentiments are super sweet and they're still available, so I highly recommend checking them out. I cannot get over that gorgeous press plate, whether it is used with the BetterPress or with the Glimmer machine and foiled. I just think that background is stunning and so versatile, could be used for a ton of different cards. But I'd love to hear what you think. Let me know in the comments below. As always, I want to thank you so much for stopping by and spending time with me today. Please stay safe, stay healthy, and I'll see you again soon. Which is the... should have looked that up first. It's about poppies. I know it's poppies. Yana's Poppies collection. That makes sense. All right, we're just gonna start over again because that was crazy.